Testing, testing. That was about 3 seconds delay. Damn. That sucks ass. But at least it's not like chopping my words up. That would make this just unwatchable because today audio is the primary concern. All right, seems that can be heard loud and clear. Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to another reading stream. It has been a fair bit since we did one of these, but hello, Bane. I'm not stinky nor fish, and thanks for the lurk murder. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Reading stream? Yes, a reading stream. I do these every so often. Yeah, I guess it's been a bit since the previous one. Instead of doing a visual novel or something, we read a book. I guess. Not a book. Good heavens! A book? Read a book? How scary. I know. But don't worry, we'll get through this. So, previous things we have read have been we did some gothic stories the first year. I read a few Christmas stories during Christmas. And of course, I have been making my way through the Goosebumps Horrorland books. I still need to obtain the next one of that series. I don't remember what one that's going to be. I keep finding like volume 13, but not like volume 7 or 8. I don't remember which one is the next one, but regardless, 13 is not the next one. I can't remember if I picked up 13 or not. But we've also read a bit into Journey to the West, which we will be continuing at some point. That too I've gotten a physical copy of. It's broken to 4 fucking books because it's over 2,000 pages long. Hold on, getting a text. But anyways, aside from that, we've also done the prior Sherlock Holmes stories, which was, well, we started from the very beginning of the Sherlock Holmes canon. Which would be, according to this book, because this seems to be in order. God, this thing's heavy. Oh yeah, A Study in Scarlet. The Country of Saints. Did we do the Country of Saints? Was that weird one? Yeah, that was the weird story that I abandoned. It's not a Sherlock Holmes story, but it is the second half of the novel for A Study in Scarlet. It's concerning. It's like a Mormon cult kind of deal. Anyways, then we read The Sign of Four, and I gave one of the main people the Krillin voice, and I regretted that because he talked a lot. And then we did the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, I have personal beef with. Not that it's a bad collection, not by any means, but it's because whenever you go and look for Sherlock Holmes books, usually, even if they're not labeled The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, they're usually just The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, that particular collection. I'm getting. Oh, okay, okay. Ah, my neck. Anyways, so today we'll be beginning the next collection, which is the Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes, starting with the first story in it, Silver Blaze. Now, for those of you who have not been here for any of my Sherlock Holmes reading streams, which is probably everyone in existence, because I don't know who actually attends these things with any regularity, especially since it's been a while since we've done Sherlock Holmes in particular. Let me try and get this. Trying to get this situated so that I can read and not have my mic in the way, but still be heard. Also, like, the delay isn't as bad now. Okay, maybe it is as bad, but at least I'm still clear. And my frames are stable, but they're stably low, but at the same time, I'm not losing a whole bunch, so I guess we're okay. How weird. Anyways, that's what's on today's agenda. Oh, wait, right. So, I was gonna say, uh, for these reading streams, I do voices for them, just like I do any video game or such that I voice. So, uh, for the two main people, Watson gets the Johnny Young Bosch voice, specifically the one that is his Jonathan Joestar or voice. So he sounds like this. Well, meanwhile, my Holmes voice sounds like this. And you'll notice Holmes sounds very distinctly not British, which was a choice that I made. But I also try to make Holmes sound more erratic and rushed in his mannerisms. So we're going to see how well that sticks while we're reading. Being asked what I'd like for food. What should we eat, chat? Hmm. What should we eat? What should we eat? Um... Hmm. Hmm. I didn't think I'd have to think this hard right now. Damn it. I'm very distracted. There's lots of options, but I also don't want anything too big. But still needs to be something of some nutritional value. Excuse me. That place will be closed by that time. I feel like those might end up too heavy. Um, there we go. I think they'll be good. All right. Let's focus up. Let's focus up. Now then, let me accessorize. And let me just give a good illusion that this is that I'm holding it here. Or at least it's hanging out next to me. All right. Are you guys ready to begin? God, this thing's heavy. 312. Okay, that's gonna be in the way like that. Hello. Hi, Ophelie. Welcome to the stream, sweetie. Glad you could swing on in. How are you doing today? I might need to turn the light for this. This might be a little dark and not good for my eyeballs. There we go. Much better. Doing well. Managed to leave early. My last class to go to the eye doctor. I see. I see. Now I'm painting on Pokemon cards. Painting on them. Why are you painting on them? That seems peculiar. All right, testing, testing. Okay. Mic works here. I'll adjust that so I'm better in frame. I'm like painting AR cards on QR code cards that covered with white paint. Okay, the only thing that lost me there is the QR codes being AR cards. Is that something I not aware of that they can do? I know about the QR codes for their their games and whatnot. I was gonna try to adjust my monitor here. So I can move this so I can set my sort of lean my book here. There we go. How am I looking? How am I looking? And that's just gonna be a constant. All right. What if I do this? I'll still be leaning down. Let me get my phone. Okie dokie. Like I knew about the QR codes, but I didn't know about the AR stuff on them. Let's hear the playback, make sure I'm still good. God, that delay sucks, but not much I can do about it. My frames where they are right now. Don't know what's going on there. Not losing them as drastically anymore, but I don't know the cause of it either. How peculiar. Pick your names, King. Okie dokie. Actually, a lot of things aren't coming in very fast here. How peculiar. Okay. Scanning that. Drawing that. And drawing that. Those are nice. That's pretty well done. They're quite well done. Also, mine like a windowed picture kind of deal over there. I don't know, desktop Twitch could do that. All right. You guys ready for the story to begin? The first story for them. A what? It's a story. We're reading Sherlock Holmes today. Starting with The Silver Blaze. It is the first story in the Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes collection. From my complete collection here. Desktop what? Desktop windowed mode basically. It's it's a mode that allows you to have it like in a little in its own little picture box. It's usually something that a phone will do, like whenever you minimize the phone app, but we were watching a video and your video keeps playing on the screen. That's kind of what I mean. Wasn't aware Twitch could do that. But then again, I don't really mess around with a lot of stuff, so maybe it does have a pop out video feature that I've just never messed with. I mean, that could be a Discord thing. Oh yeah, Opera. Ah, I see. I didn't know Opera could do that. I still use Chrome. Also, ad's about to run, so I'm just gonna run it now to get it out of the way. So bear with me here. I didn't get all my hair tied when I did my ponytail. Gotta fix that right quick. Also, this book came with a built-in bookmark. It's like a tassel thing that's made into the spine that hangs over it. Fun fact, I'm doing the painting with a toothpick. And we're back. About 8 more seconds on my add progress thing for absolutely everyone to be finished up. There it goes. Okay. There it is. There it is. Anyways, with the toothpick, that is some real fine detail you're going for then. All right. And now, to begin. I'm afraid, Watson, that I shall have to go, said Holmes as we sat down together, or to our breakfast one morning. Go to where? To Dartmoor, to King's Pyland. I'm not surprised. Indeed, my only wonder was he had not already been mixed up in this extraordinary case, which was the one topic of conversation through the length and breadth of England. For a whole day, my companions had rambled about the room with his chin upon his chest and his brows knitted, charging and recharging his pipe with the strongest black tobacco, and absolutely deaf to any of my questions or remarks. Fresh editions of every paper had been sent up by our news agent, all to be glanced over and tossed down into a corner. Yet, silent as he was, I knew perfectly well what it was he was over which he was brooding. There, or there was but one problem before the public which would challenge his powers of analysis, that is singular disappearance of the favorite for the Wexton Cup and tragic murder of its trainer. When, therefore, we suddenly announced his intention of setting upon for the scene of drama, it was only what I had both expected and hoped for. I should be happy to go down with you, if I should not be in the way, said I. My dear Watson, you would confer great favor upon me by coming. I think that your time will not be misspent, for there are points about the case which promise to make it an absolutely unique one. We have, I think, just in time to catch our train at Paddington, and I will go further into the matter upon our journey. You will oblige me by bringing with you your very excellent field glass. And it so happened that an hour or so later I found myself in the corner of a first-class carriage, flying along en route for Exeter, while Sherlock Holmes, with his sharp, eager face, framed to his ear flap, travelling cap, dipped rapidly into a bundle of fresh papers which he procured at Paddington. We had left Reading in far behind us before he thrust the last one of them under the seat, offered me his cigar case. We are going well, said he, looking out at the window and glancing at his watch. Our rate at present is 5 3 and a half miles, or 50. Why did I read that as 5 3? Man, that was really weird. Doppel, hi Totodile. Welcome to the stream. Glad you could swing on in. We're reading today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are going well, he said, looking out the window, glancing at his watch. Our rate at present is 53.5 miles per hour. I have not observed the quarter-mile post, said I. Nor have I, but the telegraph posts upon this line are 60 yards apart. The calculation's a simple one. I presume that you have looked into this matter of the murder of John Stalker and the disappearance of Silver Blaze. I don't got a music you can... This... I just got done making it. I'd have to preview it first. I've seen what the Telegraph and the Chronicle have to say. It is one of those cases where the art of the reasoner should be used rather than for the sifting of details than the acquiring of fresh evidence. The tragedy has been so uncommon, so complete, and such personal importance, and to so many people that we are suffering from a plethora of similar conjecture and hypothesis. The difficulty is to detach the framework of fact, of absolute undeniable fact, from the embellishments of theorists and reporters. Then, having established ourselves upon the sound basis, it is our duty to see what inferences may be drawn, and what are the special points upon which the whole mystery turns. On Tuesday evening, I received telegrams from both Colonel Ross, the owner of the horse, and from Inspector Gregory, who's looking after the case, inviting my cooperation. Yeah, you make music? Huh. Neat. Tuesday evening, I explained, and this is Thursday morning. Why did you not go down yesterday? Because I made a blunder, my dear Watson, which is, I am afraid, a more common occurrence than anyone would think. Think who knew me through your memoirs. The fact is, I could not believe it possible that the most remarkable horse in England could long remain concealed, especially in so sparsely inhabited a place as the north of Dartmoor. From hour to hour yesterday, I expected to hear that he had been found. His abductor was the murderer of John Stalker. When, however, another morning had come,
I found that beyond the arrest of young Fitzroy Simpson, nothing had been done. I felt that it was time for us to take action, yet in some ways, I feel that yesterday had not been wasted.
Sent to you? Alright, let's give this a little preview. Sounds pretty interesting. It sounds like it'd be something to put someone to sleep, which my reading streams already do. I wouldn't be surprised if I've already knocked out Ophelia. She hasn't been here that long either. We can use it for this moment. I will pass for now, mostly because I've already started stream and I don't like doing downloads because it tanks my frames to absolute garbage. And I'm already having frame issues today. But I was just saying I wouldn't be surprised if I already knocked you out because my reading streams put people to sleep. Where was I? Ah, here we go. You've formed a theory then.
At least, I've got a grasp of the essential facts of the case. I shall emanate them to you, for nothing clears up a case so much as stating it to another person. I can hardly expect your cooperation if I do not show you the position from where we start.
I lay back against the cushions, puffing on my cigar while Holmes leaned forward with his long, thin forefinger, checking off the points upon the palm of his left hand, giving me a sketch of the events in which led into our journey. That's like background noise while I paint Pop Off King. All I'm saying is there's a track record, not necessarily just for you, but for lots of people.
Silver Blaze, said he, is from the isolated stock and holds a brilliant record as his famous ancestor. He's now in his fifth year and has brought in turn each of the prizes of the turf to Colonel Ross, his fortunate owner. Up to the time of the catastrophe, he was the first favorite for the Wexton Cup. The betting in being 3-1. He has always, however, been a prime factor, but the racing public has never yet disappointed them. So even at those odds, enormous sums of money have been laid upon him. It is obvious, though, there were many people who had the strongest interest in preventing Silver Blaze from being there at the fall of the flag next Tuesday.
That is.
This fact was
Oh, hold on. Let me make sure it's still him talking. Based on all that, yes.
The fact was, of course, appreciated at King's Pyland, where Curdle's trading stable is situated. Every precaution was taken to guard the favorite. The trader, John Stalker, is a retired jockey who rode in Colonel Ross's colors before he became too heavy for the weighing chair. He had served the Colonel for 5 years as a jockey. and for 7 as a trainer, he'd always shown himself to be a zealous and honest servant. Under him were 3 lads, for the establishment was the small for the establishment of a small one, containing only 4 horses in all. One of these lads set up each night in the stable, while the other one slept in the loft. All 3 bore excellent characters. John Stalker, who was a married man, lived in a small villa about 200 yards to the stable. He has no children, keeps 1 maidservant, and is comfortably off. The country round is very lonely, but about half a mile to the north there's a small cluster of villas, which have been built by Tavaski's contractor for the use of invalids and others who may wish to enjoy the pure Dartmoor air. Tavistock itself is the largest trading establishment of Capleton, which belongs to Lord Backwater. It is managed by Silas Brown. In every other direction, the moor is a complete wilderness, inhabited only by a few roaming gypsies. Such was the general situation last Monday night when the catastrophe occurred. On that evening, the horses had been excited and watered as usual, or excited, exercised and watered as usual. The stables were locked up at 9 o'clock. The 2 lads walked up to the trader's house, where they had supper in the kitchen, while the third, Ned Hunter, remained on guard. At a few minutes after 9, in the maid, Edith Baxter, carried down to the stables. His supper consisted of a dish of curried mutton.
Hi, Doppel. She'll lurk and watch on the side. I want to wish you a lovely streaming evening, though. Thanks, Tiberian. I appreciate you swinging on in. We're reading Sherlock Holmes today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're excited, Ophelia? I'm glad you're excited. I don't know exactly for what, but I am pleased to hear that.
She took no liquids, as there was a water tap in the stables. It was a rule that the lads on duty should drink nothing else. The maid carried a lantern with her. It was very dark, and the path ran across the open moor.
I love Sherlock Holmes. Yay! The horses are.
Edith Baxter was within 30 yards of the stable when a man appeared out of the darkness and called her to stop. As he stepped into the circle of yellow light thrown by the lantern, she saw he was a person of gentlemanly bearing, dressed in a gray suit of tweeds with a cloth cap. He wore gaiters. Garters? Gaiters.
I want to say that's garters. Like in garter pants or garter stockings. So I'm pretty sure that's what you wear whenever you ride a horse, right?
And carried a heavy stick with a knob on it. She was most impressed, however, by the extreme pallor of his face, the nervousness of his manner. His age, she thought, would rather over 30 than under it.
Can you tell me where I am?
He asked.
I had almost made up my mind to sleep on the moor when I saw the light of your lantern.
You're close to King's Piling and Training Stable, she said.
Oh, indeed, what a stroke of luck!
He cried.
I understand the stable boy sleeps there alone every night. Perhaps that is his supper which you are carrying to him. Now, I'm sure that you would not be too proud to earn a price of a new dress, would you?
He took a piece of white paper folded up on his waistcoat pocket.
You see, that boy has this tonight, and he shall have the prettiest frock that money can buy.
She was frightened by the earnestness of his manner, and ran past him to the window, though which she was accustomed to hand the meals. It was already open. Hunter was seated at the small table inside. He had to tell him what had happened when the stranger came up again.
Good evening,
said he, looking through the window.
I wanted to have a word with you.
The woman had sworn that she spoke. she noticed the corner of his little paper packet protruding from his closed hand. What business have you here? That's the lad. His business may put something in your pockets, said the other. You've two horses in for the Waxton Cup, Silver Blaze and Bellyard. Let me have a straight tip. You won't be a loser. The fact that at the weights, Ray a yard could give a yeah, there are 100 yards in the 5 foot longs, and the stable has put their money on him. So you're one of those damn trouts, cried the lad. I'll show you how to serve them in King Pyland. He sprang up and rushed across the stable to unloose the dog. The girl fled away to the house. She ran, she looked back and saw the stranger was leaning through the window. A minute later, however, when Hunter rushed out with the hound, he was gone. Though he ran all around the building, he failed to find a trace of him. One moment, I asked. The stable boy, when he ran out with the dog, leave the door unlocked behind him. Excellent, Watson, excellent, muttered my companion. The importance of the point struck me so forcibly that I sent a special wire to Dartmoor yesterday to clear the matter up. The boy locked the door before he left. The window, I may add, was not large enough for a man to get through. Hunter waited until his fellow grooms had returned. When he sent a message to the trainer and told him what had occurred, Stalker was excited at hearing the account, though he did not seem to have quite realized the true significance. It left him, however, vaguely uneasy, and Mrs. Stalker, waking at 1 in the morning, found that he was dressing. In reply to her inquiries, he said that he could not sleep on the account of his anxiety about the horses. He intended to walk down to the stables, see that all was well. She begged him to remain at home, as she could hear the rain pattering against the window, but in spite of her entreaties, he pulled on his his large mackintosh, and left the house. Mrs. Stalker woke up at 7 in the morning to find that her husband had not yet returned. She dressed herself hastily, called the maid, and set off for the stables. The door was open. Inside, huddled together upon a chair, Hunter was sunk in a state of absolute stupor. The favorite stall was empty. There was no sign of his trainer. The two lads who had slept in the chaff cutting loft above the harness room were quickly aroused. They had heard nothing during the night, for they were both sound sleepers. Hunter was obviously under the influence of some powerful drug, and as no sense could be gotten out of him, he was left to sleep it off while the two lads and the two women went out in search of the absentees. They still had hopes that his trainer had, for some reason, taken out the horse for early exercise, but on sitting in the knoll near the house, from all which the neighboring moors were visible, they could not see no sign of missing favorites. But they perceived something which warned that they were in the presence of a tragedy. About a quarter-mile from the stables, John Stalker's overcoat was flapping with a Fritz brush. F-U-R-Z-E. Fritz? What a weird word. Immediately, there was a bowl-shaped depression in the moor. At the bottom of this was found the dead body of the unfortunate trainer. His head had been shattered by a savage blow from some heavy weapon. The wound was on the thigh, where there was a long, clean cut, inflicted evidently by some very strong instrument. It was clear, however, that Stalker had defended himself vigorously against his assailant, for in his right hand he held a small knife, coated in blood up to the handle, while in his left hand he clasped a red-black silk cravat, which was recognized by the maid as having been worn on the preceding evening by the stranger who had visited the stable. Hunter, on recovering from his stupor, was also quite positive of the ownership of the cravat. He was equally certain that the same stranger had, while standing near the window, drugged his curried mutton, and so deprived in the stables of and so deprived the stables of their watchmen. As to the missing horse, there was abundant proof in the mud which lay at the bottom of the fatal hollow that he had been there at the time of the struggle. But from that morning he had disappeared, and though a large reward had been offered and all the gypsies of Dartmoor are on alert, no news have come of him. Finally, an analysis has shown that the remains of his supper left well, by the stable lad contained an impeccable quantity of powdered opium. Well, people of the house partook of the same dish at the same night with no ill effect. Those are the main facts of the case, stripped of all surmise and stated as boldly as possible. I shall now recapitulate what the police have done in the matter.
Man, this book is fucking heavy. It's the I mean, I shouldn't be surprised. The entire collection. Maybe I should have just opened this on my computer as like on the Internet Archives, cuz god, this is giving my shoulders a workout trying to lift this thing. Hold on. Maybe a quick drink. You know, at least whenever we continue Journey to the West, that's broken up into 4 separate books because it's over 2,000 pages. So it should be lighter than this. What page count does this entire collection go to? Oh, oh, that's why over 1,000. So it's half the size. With everything said and done, it is half the size of Journey to the West. No wonder it's so fucking heavy. I could bludgeon someone with my a copy of Journey to the West. I could probably bludgeon someone with this too. Make sure the playback's still going. I don't like the delay, but at least we're alive. All right. Before I get to the detectives or the yards investigative bit, I'm gonna run the ad real quick, and we'll take a quick break from reading there. Begone, pre-rolls, begone!
Back to the shadows from which you came.
Also, I just realized why Ophelia said excited because my flubbing on the line earlier. Oops. I didn't pick up on that. Do, 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 do. All right. Ad's over.
Inspector Gregory, to whom the case has been committed, is an extremely competent officer. Were he but gifted with imagination, he might rise to great heights in profession. On his arrival, he promptly found and arrested the man upon which suspicion naturally rested. There was little difficulty in finding him, for he inhabited one of the villas which I have mentioned. His name, appears, was Fitzroy Simpson. He was a man of excellent birth, and education had squandered a fortune upon the turf, and lived now by doing a little quiet and gentle bookmaking in the Sporting Club of London. An examination of his betting books showed the bets to amount of £5,000 been registered to him against the favorite. On being arrested, he volunteered the statement that he had come down to Dartmoor in the hopes of getting information about King Pyland's horses, and also about Desperos, the second favorite, which was in charge of Salis Brown at the Chaplain stables. He did He did not attempt to deny he had acted as described upon the evening before, but declared he had no sinister designs and simply wished to obtain first-hand information. When confronted with his caveat, he turned very pale and utterly unable to account for his presence in the hand of the murdered man. His wet clothing showed that he had been out in the storm the night before. His stick, which was a pengun, a lawyer weighted with lead, was just such a weapon as might have by repeated blows have inflicted the terrible injuries to which the traitor had succumbed. On the other hand, there's no wound upon this person, while the state of the stalker's knife would show that one at least of his assailants must bear his mark upon them. There you have it all in a nutshell, Watson, and if you give me any light, I shall be infinitely obliged to you.
I had listened with the greatest interest to the statements which Holmes, with characteristic cleverness, had laid before me. Though most of the facts were familiar to me, I had not sufficiently appreciated their relative importance, nor their connection to each other. Is it not possible, I suggested, the incision wound upon Stalker may have been caused by his own knife to the convulsive struggles which followed any brain injury?
It is more than possible. It is probable. In that case, one of the main points in the favor of the accused disappears.
And yet, said I, even now I fail to understand what the theory of the police can be.
I'm afraid whatever theory he states has grave objections to it.
I just read something. I already lost my place. The text is so tiny. Magnifying glass. Yeah, usually I'd just be reading like this and I'd be fine. I can't do that because that's going to hurt my neck in this position. I don't know if my glasses would help. I'm already not really looking at the camera that much, so I guess maybe. Hold on. Little experiment time. Gotta take out the trash. That does not help. Well, maybe. I need to clean these. Oh, does this one track my eyes better despite wearing glasses? Hmm. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's something. Some improvement. Yeah, those glasses aren't really helping much. They're more for seeing far away things. I thought maybe since the text is super, super fucking small in this. No, that's not helping either. Backup plan to this. Let's see if I can't get a comfortable reading site with the Internet Archives. Or Gutenberg. Let's see. That's not what I want to do. That's what I want to do. Okay. No, go away. Shut up, Gemini. Shut up. Didn't mean to download that. That was a file I did not need. Why? What is... Why do I only have 35? I had more than that the other day. What's going on? What's going on? That's why I'm having issues? I don't know what would be causing it. Some things updated yesterday. They shouldn't have taken up that much. Curious, curious. Very curious. All right, so first off, we're going to do this. And then we're going to do that. And again. All right, adjusted. All right. Yeah, it's much easier because I can increase the text size. At least when reading it to other people where I need to perform at the same time. and be seen. This is easier. All right, proceeding on. And yet, said I, even now I fail to understand what the theory of the police could be.
I'm afraid whatever theory we state has very grave objections to it,
Returned my companion.
the police, I imagine. I take it that this Fitzroy Simpson has drugged the lad, having in some way obtained a duplicate key, opened the stable door, and took out the horse, with the intention apparently of kidnapping them altogether. His bridle is missing, thus Simpson must have put it on him. Put this on, then having left the door open behind him, he was leading the horse away over the moor, which he was when he was either met or overtaken by the traitor. A row naturally ensued. Simpson beat out the traitor's brains with a heavy stick without receiving any injury from the small knife which Stalker used in self-defense. Then the thief either led the horse on to some secret hiding place, or else it may have been bolted during the struggle and be now wandering out in the moors. As the case it appears to be the police. He's and improbable as it is, all other explanations are more improbable still. However, I shall be very quick to test the matter when I am once upon the spot. Until then, I cannot really see how we can get much further than our present position.
It was evening before we reached the little town of Tastock, which lies like the boss of a shield, in the middle of a huge circle of Dartmoor. Two gentlemen were awaiting us in the station. The one, a tall, fair man with lion-like hair and beard and curiously penetrating light blue eyes, and the other a small, alert person, very neat and dapper, a frock coat and gaiters with trim little side whiskers and an eyeglass. The latter was Colonel Ross, the well-known sportsman. The other, Inspector Gregory, a man who was rapidly making his name in the English detective service. "I'm delighted that you've come, Mr. Holmes," said the colonel. "The inspector has done all he could possibly be suggested, but I wish to leave no stone unturned to trying to avenge poor Stalker and recover my horse."
Have there been any fresh developments?
Asked Holmes.
I'm so I'm sorry to say we've made very little progress,
Said the inspector.
we have an open carriage outside, and you would no doubt like to see the place full of light fogs. We might talk it over as we drive.
A few minutes later, we're all seated in a comfortable old landau, and we're rattled through the quaint old Devonshire city. Inspector Gregory was full of his case, and poured out a stream of remarks while Holmes threw in an occasional question or interjection. Colonel Ross leaned back with his arms folded and his hat tilted over his eyes, while I listened with interest to the dialogue of the two detectives. Gregory was formulating his theory, which was almost exactly what Holmes had foretold in the train.
The net is drawn pretty close around Fitzroy Simpson,
He remarked.
and I believe myself he's your man. At the same time, I recognise the evidence pretty circumstantial that some new development may upset it.
How about Stalker's knife?
We're quite come to the conclusion that he wounded himself in his fall.
My friend Dr. Watson made that suggestion to me as we came down. If so, it would tell against this man Simpson.
Undoubtedly, he had neither knife nor sign of wound. The evidence against him is certainly very strong. He had a great interest in the disappearance of the favourite. He lies under suspicion of having poisoned the stable boy, undoubtedly out in the storm. He was armed with a heavy stick, and his cabinet was found in the dead man's hand. I really think we have enough to go before a jury.
Holmes shook his head. A clever counsel would tear it all to rags, said he. Why should he take a horse out of a stable? He wished to injure it. Why would he not do it there? Has a duplicate key been found in his possessions? What chemist sold him the powdered opium? Above all, where could he, a stranger in the district, hide a horse, and such a horse as this?
What is his own explanation as to the paper, which he wished the maid to give to the stable boy?
He said there was a £10 note. One was found in his purse. But your other difficulties are not so formidable as they seem. He's not a stranger to the district. He's twice lodged at Tavistock in the summer. Help him was probably bought from London. Key having served its purpose would have been hard away. Also might be at the bottom of one of them pits or old mines upon the moor.
What's he say about the cabot?
He acknowledged that it is and declares that he had lost it. A new element's been introduced to the case which may account for him leading the horse from the stables.
Holmes picked up his ears.
I found traces which show reports of gypsies encampment on the Monday night within a mile of the spot where the matter took place, and Tuesday they were gone. Now, presuming there was some understanding between Simpson and these gypsies, might not have been leading the horse to them when it was overtaken. May they not have? I'll have him now.
It is certainly possible.
The moor was scoured for these gypsies, and I've examined every stable and outhouse in Tavistock for a radius of 10 miles.
There was another trading stable quite close, I understand.
Yes, and that is a factor which is certainly not neglect, as Dennisworth, their horse, was second in the betting. Interest in the disappearance of their favourite, Silas Brown, trainers known to have large bets upon the event. No friend to poor Stalker. We have, however, examined the stables. Nothing connecting with the affair.
Nothing to connect this man Simpson with the affairs of Appleton stables?
Nothing at all.
Holmes leaning back in the carriage, and the conversation ceased. A few minutes later, our driver pulled out a neat little red brick villa with an overhanging eaves, which stood by the road. Some distance off, across a paddock, lay a long gray tiled out building. In every other direction, the low curve of the moor's bronze color from the fading ferns stretched away to the skyline, broken only by the steeples of Tavistock, and led by a cluster of horses away to the westward, which marked the Mapleton stables. We all sprang out, with the exception of Holmes, who continued to lean back with his eyes fixed upon the sky in front of him, entirely absorbed in his own thoughts. It was only when I touched his arm, that he roused himself with a violent start and stepped out of the carriage. "Excuse me," said he, turning to Colonel Ross, who had looked at him in some surprise. "I was daydreaming." There was a gleam in his eye and a suppressed excitement with his manner which convinced me, he, used as I was to his ways, that his hand was upon a clue, though I could not imagine where he had found it. "Perhaps you would prefer at once to go on the scene of the crime, Mr. Holmes?" said Gregory. "I think I prefer to stay here a little, and go into one or two questions of details. Stalker was brought back here, I presume."
"Yes, he lies upstairs. The inquest is tomorrow."
"He's been in your services some year, Colonel Ross."
"I've always found he was an excellent servant."
"I presume you made an inventory of what he had in his pockets at the time of death, Inspector."
"Or the things themselves in the sitting room. You would care to see 'em."
"I should be very glad."
We all filed to the front room and sat around the central table, with the inspector unlocked the square tin box and laid a small heap of things before us. The box of Vesta, 2 inches of tallow candle, an ADP, a briar root pipe, a pouch of sealskin, half an ounce of long cut Cavendish, a silver watch with a gold chain, 5 sovereigns in gold, an aluminum pencil case, a few papers, and an ivory-handled knife, the very delicate and flexible blade marked Weiss and Company, London.
"This is a very singular knife,"
said Holmes, lifting it up and examining it minutely.
"I presume, as I see bloodstains upon it, that this is the one which is found in the dead man's grasp. This knife is surely in your line."
"It's what we call a cavalry knife, or it's what we call a cavalry knife," said I.
"I thought so. A very delicate blade, devised for very delicate work. A strange thing for a man to carry with him upon a rough expedition, especially as it would not shut in his pocket."
The delay is a little longer now. I do not know why it's being like that. It was guarded by a disc of cork which we found beside the body, said the inspector. His wife tells us the knife's laid upon the body, or it's laid upon the dressing table. He picked it up and he left the room. Poor weapon, perhaps the best he could lay his hands on in the moment.
Very possible. What about these papers?
Them are receipts from a dealer accounts. One of them's a letter of instructions from Colonel Ross, and the other's a milliner's account of £37.15 made out by Madam Lannister of Bond Street to William Dadsbury Shire. Mrs. Stalker tells us Dadsbury Shire was a friend of her husband's, and occasionally his letters were addressed here.
Madame Derbyshire has somewhat expensive taste, remarked Holmes, glancing down the account. 22 guineas is rather heavy for a single costume. However, these appear to be nothing more to learn. We may now go down to the scene of the crime.
As we emerged from the sitting room, a woman who had been waiting in the passage took a step forward and laid her hands upon the inspector's sleeve. Her face was haggard and thin and eager, stamped with the print of a recent horror. Have you got them? Have you got them? She panted. Now, Mrs. Stalker, Mr. Holmes here comes from London to help us. We shall do all that is possible.
Surely I met you in Plymouth at a garden party some time ago, Mrs. Stalker,
said Holmes. No, sir, you're mistaken.
What then? I found what appears to be salt right on the floor, right beside my shoe. It must be a clue.
That's crack from your pipe, Mr. Holmes.
Well, why waste it?
No! In the middle of something.
But I wasn't going to use it now. Fine. I wouldn't be so irresponsible as to smoke crack while investigating. That's when I don't have any mysteries. Need something to take the edge off.
Mr. Holmes, I am very concerned for you. I am a doctor, you know. You're pretending to do and snort that shit in 2 seconds. Not during a case. That's the thing. He wouldn't do it during a case. He only partakes in those kind of things when he doesn't have something to stimulate his mind. It's kind of the dichotomy of his addiction. Is that he either needs to be actively pursuing a case or he needs to be sedated somehow because he gets restless. This and very nippy otherwise. Where the hell was I? Also, hi, Mr. Mustache. Welcome to the stream. We're having frame rate issues to hell today. It's just didn't call it Sherlock Holmes just a skill of developing a new novel phantasm. Cue bad theme. I don't know what that theme is, but yeah, that checks out. It checks out.
I don't know what this meth was. It didn't exist in my time, but I'm very curious.
No, stop him! I was never into Breaking Bad. Never really interested me. I wasn't into a lot of. Never been into a lot of the major live action media that's come out over the years. Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, The Walking Dead. No, it's really interested me. But like I can recognize they're just not my thing. Oh, currently The Boys is one of them. Some stuff was good, honestly. It did start to blend together after a while. Yeah, I can definitely see that for Breaking Bad and The Walking Dead, even if they're like very distinctly different shows. They have very similar vibes to them. Those are both AMC shows, aren't they? Like I know just for those two shows in particular. Like Breaking Bad was on AMC, right? I know The Walking Dead was for sure. And right now, the big things I just don't have much interest in is like Invincible and The Boys. Or has The Boys even got a show or anything made by Garth Ennis for that matter? I know the comics are really fucked up. I think the only good thing out of The Boys that I enjoy is people showing just how bitch made Homelander actually is. Like he's very much a big fish in a small pond.
Dear me, why I could have sworn to it. You wore a costume of dug-covered silk with ostrich feather trimmings.
I've never had such a dress, answered the lady.
Ah, that quite settles it.
Said Holmes in apology as he followed the inspector outside. A short walk across the moor took us to the hollow in which the body had been found. At the brink of it was a furze bush upon which the coat had been hung. And The Boy is just one example. It's also Cross, it's Gareth's take on zombie apocalypse. First 5 seconds of that series would get canceled fast. I don't think I want to know the details. That sounds horrendous. If it's that bad.
There was no wind that night, I understand,
Said Holmes. None but a very heavy rain.
In that case, the overcoat was not blown against the furze bush, but placed there.
Yes, it was way across the bush.
You fill me with interest. I perceive that the ground has been trampled up a good deal. No doubt many feet have been here since Monday night.
Base and matting's been laid here at the side. We've all stood upon that.
Excellent.
In this bag, I have one of the shoes which Stalker wore, one of Fitzroy Simpson's shoes, and a cast horseshoe sealed with lace.
My dear Inspector, you surpass yourself.
Holmes took the bag and descended into the hollow. He pushed the matting into a more or central position. Then, stretching himself upon his face and leaning his chin upon the position, he stretched himself, or his hands, he made a careful study of the trampled mud in front of him.
Lo,
Said he suddenly,
what's this?
as a wax vest of half burned, which was so coated with mud, almost at first like a little chip of wood. Yeah, I really don't. It's really unpleasant read. Can't even get it despite usually liking zombie stuff. I don't even like zombie stuff. No, we're doing Bible study today. Oh yes, our Lord and Savior Sherlock Holmes. he went he went over the falls battling Moriarty for our sins. Think of someone who reads the Eric Beckham out of Vikings. The shit's so graphic and nasty I don't want to read it. Yeah. That's saying something in Jesus. Like, let's put it this way. JoJo's a standout for me in handling a graphic, really graphic setting. I don't usually go that graphic. I'm very happy I can make you laugh. Aw, thanks. I'm glad that could make you happy as well.
I cannot think how I came to have a look at, said the inspector with an expression of annoyance. It was invisible, buried in the mud. I only saw it because I was looking for it. What? You expected to find it? I thought it's not unlikely. He took the boot from the back, compared the impression of each of them with the marks upon the ground. He clambered up to the rim of the hollow and crawled about amongst the ferns and bushes. I'm afraid there's no more tracks, said the inspector. I have examined the ground very carefully for 100 yards in each direction. Indeed, said Holmes, rising. I could not have the impertinence to do it again after what you said, but I should like to take a little walk over the moor before it grows dark, that I may know my ground tomorrow. I think I shall put this horseshoe in my pocket for luck.
And the point across be vulgar and graphic as possible, since the zombies are just humans that are infected with a virus that makes them about to commit every atrocity that's possible. And yes, the comic shows all details. I couldn't stomach it after a while because it felt like a snuff comic after a while. Yeah, I imagine. I imagine. It also checks out because I'm aware that the comic version of The Boys, which the TV show seems to differ from, uh, has a section where a Homelander lookalike is shown eating a baby's face. So, I can imagine it gets a lot worse. Like, that's some fucking deal level shit. Just less fun. Yeah, yeah. See Gareth earn his name on a project. Go, oh boy. Oh, got an ad coming. Brace yourselves, everyone. I don't know why I only have like 35 gigabytes left. How do I only have that much? I had like 80 yesterday. I know like a few things updated. They shouldn't have taken fucking 50 gigabytes. They weren't that big. Jesus. There's a Honkai Star Rail update, but it wasn't like it was a version update. Cookie Run updated. And Nikkei updated. There's no way those were that big. Ah, y'all back. Okay. Back from hell. Welcome back. I was just wondering why I don't have that much fucking storage right now. Cause I even uninstalled some stuff yesterday. But right now, I only have 35 gigabytes left. Even though I had 80 yesterday. Like 80 something. Thanks for reminding me. I'm gonna jump back to Nikkei for the Resident Evil collab. Yeah, I did that. And I got really into it, like on the minigame. Because the minigame is a lot of fun. It was just so fun. Dude, empty out your Bargus stash. I don't keep a lot of those pictures. Actually, speaking of pictures, I should probably like clean out a lot of my screenshots or my more recent screenshots because I probably don't need them anymore. Because I only like take them for conversation stuff. Hundreds of gigs, man. It's concerning. This is an intervention. Do 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 do. Grabbing hitting a few screenshots I know I can get rid of real quick. Because like I'll screenshot things for situational stuff. So I know I don't need all of these screenshots. Some of them I reuse, but not often. What is this? Ah, okay. Yeah, that was for food conversation stuff. You have any sizable downloads? Wait, Mihoyo games, don't you? Take up a ton of space. The one that takes the most space is ZZZ, but ZZZ didn't have an update. At least it didn't have one yesterday. Honestly, one of the heaviest games I have is Azur Lane. That one takes up a lot of space. I might have to drop it for a while. Because, man, it takes up so much fucking space. The life when I see will take about 20 gigabyte. That's a lot for a single app game. For a single app-based game. Used to be a lot. Now it is kind of standard, especially for games that are 5 years old. I don't know. It just seems like a lot whenever I look at it. It's one of my heavier ones. I'll have to run the I have this program that tells me what everything kind of takes up individually. So like post downloads and whatnot. And I have a lot of these from Persona 5X just from talking with people. And by people, I mean Frost. Like, I'll take pictures to talk about things. I don't think they're taking up that much space, but like since I'm since I'm messing with it all, I have downloaded on Steam. Oh, let's take a quick look after emptying the recycling bin. Jesus Christ. Oh well, that all those combined did take up a few gigabytes. I wasn't even done yet. And no pictures added up that fast, or at least screenshots. I can probably sort. There's a good possibility I might have a few more gigabytes, and then I'd also want to look into live for games like Silly Aspire. How do I tell how? Actually, you know what? No, I actually know the answer to this. I was about to start asking, how do I check to see how much space that's taking up? Like, I can probably check its folders, right? Aspire. Browse local file. And then I should have. Okay, no, I don't. I don't know where I'd see the mods because there's no labeled mod folder. How do I see? I don't know. I have a mod uploader. How do you download the mods? I just grabbed them off Steam Workshop. With your eyes. Hi, Hangath. Welcome to the stream. Sorry, we kind of got distracted from the story. Yeah, I just have them saved from the Steam Workshop. I sometimes use my brain. Just sometimes. Typically the directory for that. One sec. Yeah, because like I'm in the files. But I don't see any like dedicated mod folder. Let's see if any of those are taking up a lot of space. At least nothing labeled so obviously. I'll do a jump of the PC for this. Oh goodness. Well, we don't have to worry about it right now. I was just noticing it because I was talking about it. Oh, workshop. Downloads? No. Content? Maybe? What are all these? Indescript number files. Temp? Nope, that doesn't have nothing. Source mods? No. Access through your file explorer. Yeah, I'm in the file explorer. I just don't know where in the file explorer. Because like I can might want to stop for you breaks. I'm not deleting anything. I'm just looking. It is okay to look through it. Looking at it doesn't Looking at it doesn't break it. Don't worry. It being perceived will not kill it. The files are not vampires. Hold on, I'm gonna turn off the yellow lights and let's switch to the other method. Imagine if some files work like that, though, just naturally. All right, time to type this in. First, go to this PC. Okay. You know, Steam gives me can give me direct access to that particular game folder, but Windows C, yeah, that's my local disk drive. I need to get more storage just in general for when new games come out. All right, I'm in disk C. 86, all right. I go into Steam next. Like the Steam file. Steam apps. So yes, go into Steam file because that has Steam apps in it. All right, I am there. Should be under workshop, then content. Okay, workshop, content. Down. Okay, under content, I have 2 folders that are just labeled numbers. Which open up into more folders that are just labeled numbers. Ah, I think I found Slay the Spire. Everything's so complex. How many kilobytes does it take to make a megabyte or a gigabyte? 1,000? Or is that? Yeah, it'd be a megabyte. Probably have to open some folders to see their contents. Yeah, because I'm looking at one, the sane one. 1024 by 1024. Don't make me do math. That, that looks like a dimensions of a page. So okay, so the cutoff here is 1, 2, 3. And that's to make a gigabyte. So 1 million. So in that case, to make a megabyte, that's 1,000. So in that case, the sane one is currently just 5 megabytes. Well, 5.6 megabytes. Let's take a look at them. The Duelist mod is kind of hefty for one of these. It's read in kilobytes, but that's 343 megabytes. Sure, that's still under a gigabyte, but that's a third of a gigabyte just for one mod. Well, with rounding, because I'm knocking off the 24 here. Might get rid of some of these ones I'm not using. All card isn't that big, but I'll probably still get rid of that one. Same for this Prisma Illegal one, because it's literally just like, oh yeah, your fighting is missing no. Like, that's not very interesting. And the Don't Starve Together one. That one sucked ass. I get it if you really, really want the challenge, but it still sucked ass. Okay, this favorite one is a little heftier at about 232 megabytes, but also that one's a really good mod. So that's acceptable to keep. Might get rid of this Genshin one. It's 134 megabytes, and I haven't been too impressed by the Genshin adaptations. Same for the Honkai Star Rail one. No mods that they talk up real fast if you don't keep track. Yeah, I'm seeing that. I'm seeing that. I probably knock off a few here. Get a few gigabytes back by getting a handful of these out. I wonder where I'd go for my other mods. Because these are all Slay the Spire. If I modded something and then uninstalled it, do the mods still exist on the system? Because, like, I've modded Skyrim before. Do I need to empty out something? And Fallout 4 for that matter. And Kotatsu Party. That one was a lot. That one was big. That mod was like 40 gigabytes of itself. Ridiculous. On a 40 gigabyte game. So my modding sometimes turns into a complete mess because you have to keep track of the files of which you download and use them. Y'all have to really go looking. Is this where all of my mods are? No, this is just where all my workshop mods are. Where is this one for? Legacy. What is all this stuff? It's not labeled. This folder is not labeled. It's just labeled legacy. Some of these don't have anything in them. See why whenever I can make a file in place I know I can access so I can delete it if I need to. This second number folder I have is very nondescript. Can I get some details on that? How big is this? It is collectively 1.17 megabytes, so that's not very big. What is in there? It's hard to tell. About this one. Altogether, okay, so altogether my mods for Slay the Spire are 1.75 gigabytes. That's not that much. I thought it was more than that. Actually, since I just learned how to figure that out, let's go take a look at something else here. That itself is not the issue. Let's check this. Properties. All right. Let's double check this to make sure it's actually doing what I'm looking at. Where do I need to go for that? Wouldn't be here. Okay, so going over here, let's check this. Okay, yeah, that checks out. Also, it seems collectively my HoYoverse games are taking up 69 kilobytes or gigabytes. Nice. And that's an acceptable amount because my max currently is 900. So what's eating up everything else? GZ Doom, are you the. You can't be the culprit. No, you're not. You're not. Who's the culprit here? BlueStacks, is it you? Well, I don't think that has all the files because that is too low. I'm gonna do this later. I'm so sorry. I got distracted. How many games do you have? BlueStacks? A fair few. I have two copies of Fate, two copies of Cookie Run Kingdom, um, and Azur Lane. That's okay. I'll have to look into the sizes of these things, and like I know some of the Wii games I picked up recently are a few gigabytes themselves. It says that each of the games between 15 and 20, it's anywhere between 75 and 10, or 75 and 100. Okay, that. Well, here's the thing about that. If all my Hoyo games are about 60-ish combined, and we'll assume on the high side, we'll double check this later, that all those BlueStacks games are 100. That's about 169. Once again, I have 900 potential space, and I know Brown does too. And Gods of Victory Nikkei not that big. Neither is Pirates 101. And the other games I have for Steam are Counterside, Action Time on, Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. Actually, you know what? As a point of curiosity, assuming those are mobile versions, because MiHoYo Games usually takes up at least 120. No, no, they're the PC versions. But that's what my Hoyo Play was reading. But let me see for a moment here. Will this allow me to look at the files? At least from this launcher? That'd be very convenient. Okay. No, but it does give me a size. Okay, so what I was looking at was a little bit misleading before. And ZZZ does not take up 120. Currently, ZZZ takes up 68.8 gigabytes itself. Let's Genshin. Genshin has 106. So now we're getting into more understandable territory. So 160. Plus, let's assume 100 before. So 260. And Honkai is 72. So that's 330. Let's say 340 because there was like a 9 and then there's a 2, so 341. That's still 2/3 unaccounted for. Yeah, yeah, it's just the unzipping process that takes double the amount. Out of space. All right, closing that. So that's still like 2/3 in my system unaccounted for. A portion of your storage dedicated to files for running your PC in the background. And I understand that, but we're talking like I pretty sure when I got this computer and I didn't have anything on it, I had roughly 850 gigabytes. So like I think it only took 50 for the entire thing. Unless this fucking thing that has weaseled its way onto Google right now is taking up space. Fucking Gemini. I know they're trying to force their Copilot AI onto everything. I'm gonna have to look at everything else later, of course. I have to make some cuts. Oh, looks like we rambled so much the ad's about to hit. So let's do that. Do 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 do. You need details on all that stuff. Let's see. I can look at details. I'll see you back in hell. All right. So let's take a look see. Installed apps equals 720. What's under installed apps? Let's see what everything's kicking. Large to small. Is this really going to be... No, it can't be. That can't be right. This isn't showing it very accurately. Because a lot of these are ... Because these all the way on the bottom, and that's a ... one. Because other than that, my biggest one is DaVinci Resolve at 4.5 gigabytes, and like, I know that's not my biggest thing, so we just check for all that. Okay, that's unreliable. Hello, back. Welcome back. So once again, I'll look into all that later. I'll look into all that later. I actually have a program that should help. I believe I still have it. That should help me look through it all. Anyways. Back. I got way off track. All right. We were just in. Holmes was investigating the murder scene.
Indeed, said Holmes, rising. I should not have the impertinence to do it again after what you said. But I should like to take a little walk over the moor before it grows dark, that I may know my ground tomorrow. I think that I shall put this horseshoe into my pocket for luck. Colonel Ross, who had shown some signs of impatience at my companion's quiet, systematic method of work, glanced at his watch. I wish you would come back with me, Inspector. There are several points on which I'd like your advice, and especially as to whether we do not owe it to the public to remove our horse's name from the entries for the cup. Certainly not, cried Holmes with decision. I should let the name stand. The colonel bowed. I'm very glad to have your opinion, sir, said he. You will find us at Paul Stalker's horse where you have finished your walk, and we can drive together to Tavistock. He turned back to the inspector, while Holmes and I walked slowly across the moor. The sun was beginning to sink behind the stable of Mapleton, and the long, sloping plain in front of us were tinged with gold, deepening into rich, ruddy browns where the faded ferns and brambles caught the evening light. But the glories of the landscape were all wasted upon my companion, who was sunk into the deepest thought. "It's this way, Watson," said he at last. "We may leave the question of who killed John Stalker for the instant, and confine ourselves to finding out what became of the horse. Now, suppose that he broke away during or after the tragedy. Where could he have gone? The horse is either a gregarious creature, or the horse is a very gregarious creature. If left to himself, his instincts should have been either to return to King's Pyland or go over to Mapleton. Why should he run wild upon the moor? He would surely have been seen by now. And why should the gypsies kidnap him? These people always clear out when they hear of trouble, for they do not wish to be pestered by the police. They could not hope to sell such a horse. They would run a great risk and gain nothing by taking him. Surely that is clear. Where is he then? I have already said that he must have gone to King's Pyland or to Mapleton, but he's not in King's Pyland. Therefore, he's at Mapleton. Let us take that as a working hypothesis and see what it leads us to. This part of the moor, as the inspector remarked, is very hard and dry, but falls away towards Mapleton. You can see from here the long hollow over yonder. Why have a guy who's good at working with gypsies? Judge Chap thinks his name's Frollo or something. Or we have a guy who's good at working with gypsies. No, no, don't get Frollo involved. Frollo's the worst option. Dude is lustful, prejudice in like multiple ways. So yeah, he's classist, it's racist, and fucking what's the one for people of other faiths? I don't know. Okay, it doesn't seem to have an exact name, just religious bigotry. Or racial or religious discrimination. How do we not have an exact word for this? That's so weird. All these years of human history and war over this shit, and we don't have a word for it? Man. How did that happen? Oh, we don't have a separate word for it. Should specify. Okay. When it falls away towards Mapleton, and you can see from here there was a long hollow over yonder, which must have been very wet on Monday night. If our suspicion is correct, then the horse must have crossed that, and there was a point where we should look for his tracks.
We had been walking briskly during the conversation, and a few more minutes brought us upon the hollow in question. At Holmes' request, I walked down the bunk to the right, and he to the left. I had not taken 50 paces, for I heard him give a shout, and saw him waving his hand to me. The track of a horse was plainly outlined in the soft earth in front of him, and the shoe which he took from his pocket exactly fitted the impression.
See the value of imagination, said Holmes. It is one quality which Gregory lacks. We imagined what would happen and acted upon the supposition and find ourselves justified. Let us proceed.
We crossed the marshy bottom and passed over a quarter of a mile of dry, hard turf. Again the ground sloped, and again we came onto the tracks. Then we lost them for half a mile, only to pick them up once more quite close to Mapleton. It was Holmes who saw them first, and stood pointing with a look of triumph upon his face. A man's tracks was visible beside the horse.
The horse was
The horse was alone before, I cried.
quite so. It was alone before. Hello, what is this?
The double track turned sharp off and took the direction of King's Pilot. Holmes whistled, and we both followed along after it. His eyes were on the trail, but I happened to look a little to the one side and saw to my surprise the same tracks coming back again in the opposite direction.
One for you, Watson,
Said Holmes when I pointed it out.
You have saved us a long walk, which would have brought us back at our own traces. Let us follow the return track.
We had not ought to go far. It ended at the paving of asphalt which led to the gates of Mapleton stable. As we approached, a groom ran out from them. "We don't want any loiterers about here," said he.
I only wish to ask a question,
Said Holmes, with his finger and thumb in his waistcoat pocket.
Should I be too early to see your master, Mr. Silas Brown, if I were to call at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning?
"Bless you, sir, if anyone is about, he will be, for he's always the first stirring. But here he is, sir, to answer your question for himself. No, sir, no. It's as much as my place is worth to let him see me touch your money afterwards, if you like." What? What did that mean? He didn't ask you about money. Are you okay? Were you having a conversation before that you just had to finish a statement for as your boss approached? Bro already outed himself. It's like, oh yeah, we totally weren't talking about a stolen horse or anything. Like, I wouldn't dare touch anything like that. They're not gonna sell them off for parts, and I'm not gonna get a cut or nothing. Don't worry, don't worry. As Sherlock Holmes replaced the half crown which he had drawn from his pocket. Oh wait, he had pulled out money. Okay, okay. Or would it be a Freudian slip? In that case, it might have been, but okay, I didn't realize that Holmes was pulling out money. Finger and thumb in his waistcoat pocket. Ah, okay. So that's what he was doing when he went for into his pocket. He was fishing out money to pay the man for information, basically. I get it. I thought he was reaching for a pistol just in case he might get attacked. Okay, okay. As Sherlock Holmes replaced the half crown which he had drawn from his pocket, a fierce looking elderly man strode out from the gate with a hunting crop swinging in his hand. "What's this, Dawson?" he cried. "No gossiping! Go about your business! And you, what the devil you want here?"
10 minutes. Talk with you, my good sir,
said Holmes in the sweetest of voices.
"I've no time to talk to every gun about.
We want no strangers here. Be off, or you may find a dog at your heels.
Yeah. Hiccup on that one. Holmes leaned forward and whispered something in the trainer's ear. He started violently and flushed to the temple.
It's a lie!
All right. That was another hiccup. Come on. He shouted.
And if
Okay, it's not wanting Jack Atlas today. Hold on. Let the hiccups subside and we might be able to.
an infernal lie! Very good. Shall we argue about it here in public, or talk it over in your parlor? Now come on in if you wish to. Holmes smiled. I shall not keep you more than a few minutes, Watson, said he. Now, Mr. Brown, I am quite at your disposal.
It was 20 minutes, and the reds had all faded into grays before Holmes and the trader reappeared. Never had I seen such a change as had been brought about at Silas Brown in that short time. His face was ashy pale. Beads of perspiration shone upon his brow. His hand shook until the hunting crop wagged like a branch in the wind. His bullying, overbearing manner was all gone too. He cringed along at my companion's side like a dog with its master. Holmes, what did you do?
I just showed him my noble phantasm. Your instructions will be. Your instructions will be done. It shall be done. There must be no mistake,
Said Holmes, looking round at him. The other winced as he read the menace in his eyes.
Oh no, there shall be no mistake. Shall be there. Should I change it first or not?
Holmes thought for a little, then burst out laughing.
No, don't, said he. I shall write to you about it. No tricks now, or. Oh, you can trust me, you can trust me! Yes, I think I can. Well, you shall hear from me tomorrow.
I know I'm kind of putting on the inflections here, but Holmes, did you beat this man up? Did you give him the Batman treatment? Jesus Christ. He turned upon his heel, disregarding the trampoline in hand with the other held out to him, and we set off to King's Pilot.
A more perfect compound of the bully, coward, and sneak than Mr. Silas Brown I have seldom met with,
Remarked Holmes as we trudged together. He has the horse, then.
He tried to bluster out of it, but I described to him so exactly what his actions had been upon that morning that he is convinced that I was watching him. Of course, you observed the particularly square toes in the impression that his own boots exactly correspond to them. Again, of course, no subordinate would have dared do such a thing. I described to him how, when according to his custom, he was the first down, he perceived a strange horse wandering over the moor, how he went out to it, and his astonishment at recognizing from the white forehead, which had given the favorite its name, the chance he had put in power the only horse which would beat the one upon which he had put his money. Then I described how his first impulse had been to lead him back to King's Palace. Now the devil had showed him that he could hide the horse until the race was over. Now he had led it back and concealed it at Mapleton. When I told him every detail, he gave it up and thought only of saving his own skin.
But his stable's been searched.
Oh, an old forsaker like him is many a dodge.
But are you not afraid to leave the horse in his power now, as he has every interest in injuring it?
My dear fellow, he'll guard it as the apple of his eye. He knows that it's his only hope of mercy is to produce it safe.
Colonel Ross did not impress me as a man who would likely to show much mercy in any case.
The matter does not rest with Colonel Ross. I follow my own methods and tell as much as little as I chose. That is the advantage of being unofficial. I don't know whether you observed it, Watson, but the Colonel's manner has just a trifle cavalier to me. I'm inclined now to have a little amusement at his expense. Say nothing to him about the horse.
Certainly not without your permission.
Of course, it's all quite a minor point compared to the question of who killed John Stoker.
And you will devote yourself to that.
On the contrary, we must go back to London by the night train.
I was dumbstruck by my friend's words. Only a few hours in Devonshire, and he should give up an investigation that had begun so brilliantly, was quite inconceivable to me. Not a word more could I draw from him until we were back in the trainer's house. The colonel and inspector were waiting in the parlor.
My friend and I returned to the town by night express,
Said Holmes.
We have had a charming little breath of your beautiful Dartmoor hair.
The inspector opened his eyes, and the colonel's lip curled in a sneer. Shall you disappear, or you despair of arresting the murderer of Paul Stocker? Holmes shrugged his shoulders.
There are certainly grave difficulties in that way, said he. I have every hope, however. Your horse will start upon Tuesday. I beg that you have your jockey in readiness. Might I ask for a photo of Mr. John Stocker?
The inspector took one from an envelope and handed it to him.
My dear Gregory, you anticipate all my wants. If I might ask you to wait here for an instant, I have a question which I'd like to put to the maid.
I must say that I'm rather disappointed in our London consultant. I don't know why I've made Colonel Ross into Colonel Sanders, but that's what's happened here. Bluntly, said Colonel Ross bluntly as my friend left the room. I do not see that we're any further than when we came, and than when he came. At least you have his assistance of his assurance that your horse will return. Yes, I have his assurance, said the colonel with a shrug of his shoulders. I should prefer to have the horse. I was about to make some reply in defense of my friend when he entered the room again.
Now, gentlemen,
said he,
I'm quite ready for Tavistock.
As we stepped into the carriage, one of the stable lads held the door open for us. A sudden idea seemed to occur to Holmes, for he leaned forward and touched the lad upon the sleeve.
You have a few sheep in the paddock,
he said.
Who tends them?
I do, sir.
Have you noticed anything amiss of them lately?
Well, sir, not much of an account, but 3 of them have golden names, sir. I could see that Holmes was extremely pleased, for he chuckled and rubbed his hands together.
A long shot, Watson. A very long shot,
said he, pinching my arm.
Gregory, let me recommend your attention this singular epidemic upon the sheep. Drive on, coachman.
Colonel Ross still wore an expression which showed the poor opinion which he had formed of my companion's abilities, but I saw by the inspector's face that his attention had been keenly aroused. You consider that to be important? Oh, wait, no, I think this is the inspector to Holmes.
You consider that to be important?
He asked.
Exceedingly so.
Is there any point which you'd wish to draw my attention?
The curious incident of the dog in the night time.
Dog did nothing in the night time.
That was the curious incident,
remarked Holmes. 4 days later, Holmes and I were again in the train, bound for Winchester, to see the race for the Wexham Cup. Colonel Ross met us by the appointed minute outside the station, and we drove to his drag in the course beyond the town. His face was grave and his manner cold in the extreme. I have seen nothing of my horse, said he.
I suppose that you would know him when you saw him,
said Holmes. The colonel was very angry. I have been on this turf for 20 years, and never was asked such a question as that before. A child with no silver blaze, with his white forehead and his malted eye four or leg.
How's the betting?
Well, that is the curious part. Could have gotten 15 to 1 yesterday. The price comes shorter and shorter till you hardly go 3 to 1 now.
Said Holmes. Somebody knows something. That is clear. As the drag drew upon the enclosure near the grand stand, I glanced at the card to see the entries. It read, Wexit plate 50 sols, goes each H foot, with 1,000 solves added. Oh, that's probably sovereigns. Each, I'm going to guess half foot is what H foot is trying to say. Added for each 4 and 5 year old. Second, 300 pounds. Third, 200 pounds. New course, 1 mile and 5 furlongs. 1 Miss Hearth Newton's The Negro, red cap, cinnamon jacket. It Colonel Wadland's pugilist, pink cap, blue and black jacket. Lord Backwater's or Desperog, yellow jacket and sleeves. Colonel Ross's silver blaze, black cap, red jacket. Duke of Balmore, or his Iris, yellow and black stripes. Lord Singapore's Rasper, purple cap, black sleeves. We scratched ours. We scratched ours of the one and put all hope on your word, said the colonel. Why, what is that? Silver Blaze's favorite? 5-4 against Silver. 5-4 against Silver Blaze! Roared the ringing. 5-4 against Silver Blaze. 5-15 against Dustbroil. 5-4 on the field. There are the numbers up, I cried. There are all 6 there. All 6 there? Then my horse is running, cried the colonel in great agitation. But I didn't see him. My colors have not passed. Only 5 have passed. This must be he. As I spoke, a powerful bay horse swept out from the weighing enclosure and cantered past us, bearing on it the well-known black and red of the colonel. That's not my horse, cried the owner. That beast's not a white hair upon its body. What is that you've done, Mr. Holmes? Well, let's see how he gets on, said my friend imprudently. For a few minutes he gazed through my field glass. Captain, an excellent start, he cried suddenly. There, they're coming to run the curve. From our drag we had a superb view that came out the straight. The 6 horses were so close together there was a carpet could have covered them, but half a way up the yellow the Mapleton and showed up to the front. Before they reached us, however, Dosford's bolt was shot. On and the colonel's horse, coming away with a rush, passed the post a good 6 lengths before its rival, the Duke of Balmore's Iris making a bad third. It's my race anyhow, gasped the colonel, passing his hand over his eye. I confess I can make neither heads nor tails of it. And don't you think you've kept up your mystery long enough, Mr. Holmes? Certainly, Colonel. You shall know everything. Let us all go around and have a look at the horse together. Here he is, he continued as we made our way into the weighing enclosure, where only owners and their friends find admittance. You have only to watch his face and legs and spirit of wine, and you'll find he's the same old Silver Blaze as ever. You take my breath away! I found him in the hands of a faker and took the liberty of running him just as he was sent over. My dear sir, you've done wonders. The horse looks very fit and well. Never been done. When done, or never went better in its life. I owe you 1,000 apologies for having doubted your ability. You've done me a great service by recovering my horse. You'd do me a greater still if you could lay your hands on the murder of John Staker. I have done so, said Holmes quietly. Colonel and I stared at him in amazement. You've got him? Where is he then? He's here. Here where? In my company at the present moment. The colonel flushed angrily. I quite recognize that I'm under obligations to Mr. Holmes, said he. But I must regard that you have just said that either a bad joke or an insult. Anytime he says passing his hand over his eyes, I think he's doing a JoJo post. You know what? It is Holmes. So, it's not impossible. Sherlock Holmes laughed. I assure you I have not associated you with the crime, Colonel, said he. The real murderer is standing immediately behind you. He stepped past and laid his hand upon the glossy neck of the thoroughbred. The horse! Cried the colonel and myself. Yes, the horse. It may lessen his guilt if I were to say it was done in self defense. That John Stalker was a man who was entirely unworthy of your confidence. But there goes the bell. As I stand to win a little on the next race, I shall defer a lengthy explanation until a more fitting time.
We had a corner of a Pullman car to ourselves that evening as we whirled back to London. I fancied that the journey was a short one to Colonel Ross as well as to myself, as we listened to our companion's narrative of the evening, which had occurred at the Dartmoor training stables upon the Monday night, and the means by which he had unravelled them.
I confess, he said, that any theories which I had formed about the newspaper reports were entirely erroneous, and yet there were indications there. Had they not been overlaid by the details, concealed their true import. I went down to Devonshire with the conviction that Fitzroy Simpson was the true culprit, although, of course, I saw that the evidence against him was by no means complete. It was while I was in the carriage, just as we reached the trader's home, the immense significance of the curry mutton occurred to me. You may remember that I was a district, and remain. I was distract, and remained sitting after you had all lighted. I was marveling in my own mind how I could possibly have overlooked so obvious a clue.
I confess, said the Colonel, that even I now cannot see how it helps us.
It was the first link in my chain of reasoning. Powdered opium is by no means tasteless. The flavor is not disagreeable, but it is perceptible. Were it mixed with any ordinary dish, the eater would undoubtedly detect it, and probably eat no more. A curry was exactly the medium in which to disguise the taste. By no possible supposition could this stranger, Fitzroy Simpson, have caused curry to be served in the trainer's family that night. Surely too monstrous a coincidence to suppose that he happened to come along with powdered opium upon the very night when a dish happened to be served, which would disguise the flavor. That is unthinkable. Therefore, Simpson becomes eliminated from the case, and our attention centers upon Staker and his wife, the only two people who've chosen curried mutton for supper that night. The opium was added after the dish was set aside for the table boy. The others had the same supper with no ill effects. Which of them, then, had access to that dish without the maid seeing them? Before deciding that question, I grasped the significance of the silence of the dog. For one true inference, it invariably suggests others. The Simpsons incident had shown me that a dog was kept in the stable, and yet, though someone had been in and had fetched out a horse, it had not barked enough to arouse the two lads in the loft. Obviously, the midnight visitor was someone whom the dog knew well. I was already convinced, or almost convinced, that John Steger went down to the stables in the dead of night and took out Silver Blaze.
Oh, we got an ad going. Give it a minute. I don't know why my friends have been in this shitter all day. At least I'm doing a reading stream and the audio's fine. If this was the gameplay, though, stream would 100% be canceled. But this kind of lookout, damn, it really bites. What I should do? Know what I should do? I should I should probably check, make sure my air blower is charged because it loses charge really easily. And I'm gonna load this out once I finish upstream. Give it a quick once over kind of thing. All right. All right. Continuing on. Have the ads over.
For what purpose? For dishonest one. Obviously. Or why should he drug his own stable boy? And yet I was at a loss to know why. There have been cases before now where trainers had made sure of great sums of money by laying against their own horses, though agents, and then preventing them from winning by fraud. Or through agents and then preventing them from winning by fraud. Sometimes it is pull it is a pulling jockey. Sometimes it's some sewer and settler means. What was it here? I hope the contents of his pockets might help form a conclusion. And they did so. You cannot forgotten the singular knife which was found in the dead man's hand. A knife which certainly no sane man would choose for a weapon. It was, as Dr. Watson told us, a form of knife which is used for the most delicate operations known in surgery. It is used for a delicate operation that night. You must know, with your wide experience of turf matters, Colonel Ross, it's possible to make a slight nick upon the tendons of a horse's ham. And you do it so curiously as to leave absolutely no trace. A horse so treated would deserve a slight lameness, which would be put down to a strain in exercise or a touch of ruthethium, but never foul play. Villain! Scoundrel! Cried the colonel.
The darkest Musume drama I've ever heard. Goddamn. It really do be, don't it? I've actually been playing a bit more Uma Musume recently. I was before just checking in, but now I'm doing a few races a day. I got Amazon, by the way. I'm trying to get the special El Condor. I don't know if I'll be able to, but I'm going to try. Which honestly, man, Uma Musume has been mean to me in the gacha, though. I had to hit hard pity for the first one I tried for the first like limited horse. Actually, I don't know if they're limited or just boosted rate and then perma added. But so I got off luckier at like 7 multis for Amazon. Or was it 100 or was it 10? I don't remember which one it was, but it was still it has been a one mean one to me.
We have here the explanation of why John Stalker wished to take the horse out on the moor. So spirited a creature would certainly rouse the soundest of sleepers. When it felt the prick of the knife, it was absolutely necessary to do it in the open air. I must have been blind, cried the colonel. Of course, that's why I needed the candle and struck the match. Undoubtedly, but in examining its belongings, it's fortunate to discover not only the method of the crime, but even its motives. As a man of the world, Colonel, you know what men do not carry other people's bills about in their pocket. We have most of us quite enough to do to settle our own. I at once concluded that Stalker was leading a double life and keeping a second establishment. The nature of the bill showed that there was a lady in the case, and the one which had expensive taste. Liberal as you are with your servants, one can hardly expect they can buy a 22 guinea walking dress for the ladies. I questioned Mrs. Stalker's address without her knowing it, and having been satisfied myself that it never reached her, I made a note of the owner's address. Yes, and found that by calling there by Stalker's photograph, I could easily dispose of the mythical Derbyshire. From that time on, all was plain. Stalker had led out the horse to a hollow where his light would be invisible. Simpson, in his flight, had dropped his Kevorot, and Stalker had picked it up with some idea perhaps that he might use it in securing the horse's leg. Once in the hollow, he had gotten behind the horse and had struck a light, but the creature, frightened at the sudden glare, the strange instinct of animals feeling that some mischief was intended, had lashed out, and the steel shoe that struck Stalker full on in the forehead. He had already, in spite of the rain, taken off the overcoat in order to do his delicate task, so as he fell, his knife gashed his thigh. Did I make it clear?
Wonderful, cried the colonel. Wonderful, you might have been there, or you might have been there. I think that's usual speech would be might as well been there.
My final shot was, I confess, a very long one. It struck me that so astute a man as Stalker would not undertake this delicate tendon nicking without a little practice. What could he practice on? My eyes fell upon the sheep, and I asked a question which I, rather to my surprise, showed that my surmise was correct. When I returned to London, I called upon the milliner, who had recognized Stalker as an excellent customer of the name of Donsburyshire, a Derbyshire,
or Derbyshire?
who had a very dashing wife, a long practicality for expensive dresses. I had no doubt this woman had plunged him over for head and ears in debt, and led him into this miserable plot.
You have explained all but one thing. Where was the horse?
I bolted. It was cared for by one of your neighbors. We must have an amnesty in that direction, I think. This is Chaplin Junction. I am not mistaken, we shall be in Victoria in less than 10 minutes. If you'd care to smoke a cigar in our room's girdle, she'd be happy to give you any other details which might interest you.
All right, and that's where that one ends. I'm sure he's probably just like, okay, but he might have been tempted to hide the horse, but we convinced him not to, so have a little leeway with him. Don't make this into another case. And thus concludes the darkest doom of Musume event ever. Dun dun dun. Let's see, with the time we have. Man, I really ate up a lot of time with all that random meandering. How long is this particular one? It is of some particular length. That's IT bullshit for you. Yeah, but honestly, in addition to just messing with like seeing what games still have files left over or something, I really should clean out that screenshot folder more because like I gained a few gigabytes just by cleaning out a handful of pictures. Man. The next one's called The Adventure of the Cardboard Box. I remember this being a joke in Captain Underpants, like one of the TV shows, or well, one of the Netflix shows, where the story the guy was telling was a really boring story about a cardboard box. Time for the cardboard box story. Anyways. Shall we start it? No. Probably don't have much time to finish this one today. Not with the current time I have now. Damn. I ate up too much time prattling on. Damn. Or not just prattling on, just going through fucking files and shit. But in that case, this was a very interesting case, though. I liked it. A good start for this collection. When are we going to have another one of these? I don't know. Hopefully I don't get sidetracked by more IT stuff next time. Let's see. Gonna check something real quick. Yeah, I think I'll do that. Or whenever I'm ready. All right. So, lost any train of thought I could have just spoken of. Damn. Right. So, tomorrow's my usual day off. So, I won't be live tomorrow, probably. I'll be live on Friday again. That's usually our community day. I don't know if we have anything in particular planned for it, though. I'll have to have Ina. Anyways, Saturday. See you next week, my friend. I mean next week. Where do you think a week ends? On the weekend, but yeah. I'll be back for the end of the week, unless you won't be back. In which case, yeah, see you next week. But I will be back Saturday, of course. Once again, I don't know what I have personally planned there. We'll have to see the vibe. Faith's gonna be doing a Grail front. I don't know if that's gonna be interesting content to y'all, because like we can blaze through a Grail front story and whatnot in like one sitting. So maybe I won't touch it and we can go through it. Maybe. I'll see how interesting it is or not on my main first. If nothing of real significance, we'll do some. We'll decide something else, or well, I'll just run that on my own as I did this one Gina event. One Gina event was cute, but nothing really to write home about. Maybe I should have done that foot event off stream too. Or did I? I don't even remember anymore. I think I did. No, I didn't. Did I? I don't remember anymore. Did we stream the feet event? I do not remember. Oh yeah, we also have since it is getting spooky season, maybe we'll do more of that Scooby-Doo game. Hmm. Something to ponder, something to ponder. Do you like the type of streams? I do hope you do more of these. Aw, thanks. Granted, I did get a little bit off course. But when I do hunker down, I enjoy doing them. Or more lethal company, just ideas. It could be an option. Uh, I don't have any planned guests for Saturday. So that'd be more off the cuff kind of dealio. I certainly wouldn't want to do it solo. That just sounds lame. I know on the first, I think I mentioned this yesterday. On the first, we have an Among Us stream planned with Ina and Murder at the very least. I've invited Gassy and Tingy if they're able to make it. I don't know if anyone else is going to join, like Pasta or Past or Indy, but we'll see. We'll see. And Wilden, of course. We'll be seeing who's all available at that, but I believe we have General. I think Bastion's going to be joining us. I think Indy will as well. Murder didn't say anything regarding it, so we'll see if he'll be joining us or not. I'm going to dress as Paimon. That'll be my first time playing Among Us, actually. Let's see what all the hype was about. But I guess all that being said, we're gonna raid into Aki Ayumu. So I'd like to wish you all a fond farewell and thank you for stopping by. If you liked this, of course, follow me on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing because it really helps me out. I'll be back on Friday, so don't miss me too much. And until next time, fare thee well. Now, everyone, I want you to be on your best behavior. Give her greetings from the koi pond for me. Let's raid! All right. Bye bye.